I unlocked my husband's phone and saw messages to my sister. The first one said, "I can't stop thinking about last night. My hands went numb. I thought I was being paranoid. My husband kept telling me I was overreacting, that I was imagining things, that I needed to stop being so insecure. He made me feel crazy for noticing the way he looked at my sister, for questioning why they texted so much, for asking why he always wanted her around." And then I saw his phone. I saw the messages, and I realized I wasn't crazy. I was married to a liar who was having an affair with my own sister. My husband, Ryan, and I got married 3 years ago. We dated for 2 years before that. He was everything I thought I wanted. Stable job, good family, treated me well, or at least I thought he did. We had a nice apartment, talked about buying a house, talked about starting a family. Everything seemed normal. My sister Emma is 2 years younger than me. We were always close growing up. Shared clothes, shared secrets, spent hours talking about everything. When I met Ryan, she was one of the first people I introduced him to. She said she was happy for me, said Ryan seemed great. I had no reason to think otherwise. After Ryan and I got married, Emma started coming around more. She'd stop by our apartment unannounced. She'd text Ryan directly to hang out. She'd ask him for help with things instead of asking me. I thought it was nice that they got along, that my husband and my sister were friends. But then I started noticing things, small things that felt off. Ryan would smile at his phone, and when I'd ask who he was texting, he'd say it was work. But I'd see Emma's name on the screen before he locked it. When the three of us hung out, they'd share inside jokes I didn't understand. They'd reference conversations I wasn't part of. When I brought it up to Ryan, he'd laugh and say I was being paranoid, that Emma was my sister, and of course they talked, that I should be happy they got along instead of being jealous. He made me feel like I was the problem, like I was being an insecure wife who couldn't handle her husband having a normal relationship with her sister. I tried to let it go, tried to convince myself I was overreacting just like he said, but the feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. Something was wrong. I just couldn't prove it yet. Things got weirder over the next few months. Ryan became more protective of his phone. He'd take it everywhere, even to the bathroom. He'd sleep with it under his pillow. When notifications came through, he'd quickly dismiss them before I could see. He started working late more often, or at least that's what he said. He'd come home at 10 or 11 at night, smelling like perfume. When I asked about it, he'd say it must be from someone at the office, that they'd had a team dinner or something, but he could never give me details about where they went or who was there. Emma started acting different too. She'd come over when Ryan was home but barely talk to me. She'd focus all her attention on him. She'd laugh at everything he said. She'd find excuses to touch his arm or sit close to him. When I'd point it out later to Ryan, he'd say I was reading into things, that Emma was just being friendly. One night, I came home early from a work event and found them on the couch watching a movie. Not weird by itself, but they were sitting really close, and when I walked in, they both jumped apart like they'd been caught doing something. Emma said she'd just stopped by to borrow a book, but there was no book anywhere. She left pretty quickly after that. But there was no book anywhere. She left pretty quickly after that. I started paying more attention. I noticed Ryan would get texts and immediately smile. I noticed he'd leave the room to take certain calls. I noticed Emma would post photos on social media that had been taken in places Ryan claimed to be working late. The worst part was how they made me feel when I brought up my concerns. Ryan would sigh and say I was being dramatic. Emma would act hurt that I didn't trust her. They'd both make me feel like I was the villain for noticing obvious red flags. They gaslit me into thinking I was losing my mind, but I wasn't losing my mind. My instincts were right. I just needed proof. The proof came on a random Tuesday night. Ryan was in the shower and left his phone on the nightstand. Usually it was locked with a passcode, but this time he'd forgotten to lock it. The screen was still on. I could see a text notification from Emma at the top. It said, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow." I picked up the phone. My heart was racing. I knew I shouldn't look. That going through someone's phone was wrong, but I had to know. I had to see what I'd been sensing for months. I opened his messages with Emma. There were hundreds. I started scrolling. The recent ones were flirty, affectionate, way too familiar for a brother-in-law and sister-in-law. He called her beautiful, She sent heart emojis. They talked about missing each other even though they'd just seen each other the day before. I scrolled back further. The messages got worse. They were explicitly talking about being together, about how they had to be careful so I wouldn't find out, about meeting up when I was at work, about how exciting it was to sneak around. I found a message from 2 months ago where Ryan said, "Last night was amazing. I haven't felt this way in years." Emma responded with, "I know. I feel so bad, but I can't stop." They'd been sleeping together. My husband and my sister had been having an affair, and based on the messages, it had been going on for at least 6 months, maybe longer. I kept scrolling. I found photos they'd sent each other. Photos I won't describe, but that made it clear this wasn't just emotional. This was a full affair. They'd been meeting at hotels. They'd been together in our apartment when I was out of town for work. They'd been living a secret relationship while I was home thinking I was paranoid. There were messages about me, about how they felt guilty, about how they knew it was wrong, but also messages where they talked about me like I was the obstacle, like I was in the way of what they really wanted. Ryan had sent a message saying, "I wish things were different." Emma had responded, "Maybe one day they will be." They were planning a future together, a future that didn't include me. While I was sleeping next to Ryan every night, he was texting my sister about leaving me. I heard the shower turn off. I quickly put the phone back. My hands were shaking. My mind was racing. I felt like I was going to throw up, but I didn't want to confront him yet. I needed to think, needed to figure out what to do. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay there next to Ryan, trying to process what I'd seen. He slept peacefully, like nothing was wrong, like he hadn't been destroying our marriage for months. I waited until morning, until I could think clearly. The next day I told Ryan we needed to talk. He asked what about. I said about him and Emma. His face went pale. He asked what I was talking about. I told him I'd seen his phone, seen the messages, seen everything. He immediately got defensive, said I had no right to go through his phone, that I'd violated his privacy, that I was acting crazy. I asked if he was seriously trying to turn this around on me. He said I was blowing things out of proportion, that the messages weren't what they looked like. I asked him to explain what they looked like then. He stumbled over his words, said he and Emma were just close, that they talked about a lot of things, that I was misinterpreting friendly conversations as something more. I pulled out my phone. I'd taken screenshots of the worst messages before putting his phone back. I showed him the one where he said last night was amazing, the one where Emma said she couldn't stop even though she felt bad, the ones with photos I won't describe. He went quiet, stared at the screenshots. Then he started crying, said he was sorry, that it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything, that he loved me and wanted to make our marriage work. I asked how long it had been going on. He said a few months. I told him I saw messages from 6 months ago. He admitted it had been longer. I asked who started it. He said it just happened, that they'd been drinking one night when I was out of town and things got out of hand, that he'd tried to stop but couldn't. I asked if he loved her. He said no, that it was just physical, that Emma meant nothing compared to what we had. I didn't believe him. You don't send hundreds of messages to someone who means nothing. You don't plan a future with someone who's just physical. I told him to leave. He begged me not to make any rash decisions, said we could go to therapy, work through this. I told him to get out of the apartment. He packed a bag and left. After Ryan left, I called Emma. She answered cheerfully like nothing was wrong. I told her I knew. She went silent, asked what I knew. I said everything, about her and Ryan, about the affair. She started crying immediately, said she was sorry, that it was a mistake, that she never meant to hurt me. I asked how sleeping with my husband for 6 months was a mistake. She said it just happened, that they'd gotten close and things went too far. I asked whose idea it was. She said it was mutual. I didn't believe her. I asked again. She finally admitted Ryan had made the first move, that he'd told her our marriage was struggling, that he felt disconnected from me, that he found her easier to talk to. All lies. Our marriage was fine until he started cheating. He'd never said anything anything about feeling disconnected. He'd created a narrative to justify the affair, and Emma had believed it. Or maybe she just wanted to believe it so she wouldn't feel as guilty. I asked if she loved him. She said she didn't know, that she had feelings for him but knew it was wrong. I asked if they'd planned to be together. She said they'd talked about it, that Ryan had said he was thinking about leaving me but needed time. So they'd been planning my exit from my own marriage, making decisions about my life without including me, treating me like I was just an inconvenience they needed to deal with. I told Emma she was dead to me, that I never wanted to see or speak to her again, that she'd destroyed our family for a man who was lying to both of us. She begged me not to cut her off, said she was my sister, that family was supposed to forgive. I told her she stopped being my sister the moment she slept with my husband. Then I hung up and blocked her number. Over the next week, I made my plan. I contacted a divorce lawyer, explained the situation. They said I had a strong case, that adultery would work in my favor. We started filing paperwork immediately. I told my parents what happened. They were devastated. My mom cried. My dad was furious. They said they'd support whatever I decided to do. They also said they needed to have a serious conversation with Emma. I told them that was their choice, but I didn't want to hear about it. I told Ryan's parents too. They deserved to know why their son's marriage was ending. His mom was shocked, said she couldn't believe Ryan would do something like this. His dad apologized on Ryan's behalf. They both said they understood if I never wanted to see them again. I posted a simple message on social media, said Ryan and I were getting divorced due to his affair with my sister. Didn't go into details, just stated the facts. Some people might think that was petty, but I didn't care. I was tired of protecting people who'd hurt me. They wanted to have a secret affair, fine, but it wasn't going to stay secret anymore. The responses were overwhelming. Friends reached out offering support. People who knew both Ryan and Emma sent messages, saying they were disgusted. Ryan's friends distanced themselves from him. Emma lost several close friends who couldn't believe what she'd done. Ryan tried to reach out multiple times, sent long texts, apologizing, said he'd made the biggest mistake of his life, that he'd do anything to fix this. I didn't respond. There was nothing to fix. He'd made his choice. Now he had to live with it. Emma tried too. Sent messages saying she missed me, that she understood if I needed time but hoped we could eventually repair our relationship. I deleted every message without reading past the first line. She didn't deserve my time or my forgiveness. The divorce took 4 months. I got the apartment, most of our savings. Ryan didn't fight it. His lawyer told him he had no ground to stand on. The whole process was surprisingly smooth once he accepted it was over. It's been 8 months since I found those messages. 8 months since my marriage and my relationship with my sister both ended. The first few months were brutal. I cried a lot, felt angry and betrayed and stupid for not seeing it sooner. But slowly, I started to heal. I leaned on friends who'd been there the whole time. I started therapy to process the trauma and betrayal. I started going out again, dating again, not seriously, just casual dates to remind myself I was still desirable. That Ryan cheating didn't mean something was wrong with me. It meant something was wrong with him. I heard through mutual friends that Ryan and Emma tried to make it work after everything came out, that they dated for a few months. But apparently it fell apart pretty quickly once the excitement of sneaking around was gone. They realized they didn't actually have anything real. It was just an affair built on lies and betrayal. Last I heard, Ryan was living alone and regretting everything. Emma moved to a different city to escape the judgment from our family and friends. They both lost a lot more than they gained, and honestly, they deserved it. I don't hate them anymore. I don't feel anything toward them. They're just people who used to be in my life and aren't anymore. I've moved on. Built a life that's actually mine, surrounded myself with people who respect me and value me. What I learned from this is to trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't let people gaslight you into thinking you're crazy for noticing obvious problems. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. I also learned that betrayal can come from anywhere, even from the people you trust most. Your husband, your sister. People who are supposed to love you can hurt you in ways you never imagined, and when they do, you have every right to walk away and never look back. To anyone going through something similar, Here's what I want you to know. It's not your fault. You didn't cause someone else to cheat. You didn't make them betray you. They made that choice, and you get to choose how you respond. You can fall apart, or you can stand up and fight for yourself. I chose to fight, chose to leave, chose to rebuild my life into something better. And I've never regretted it, not once, because I deserve better than a husband who'd cheat with my sister. And so do you, if you're in a similar situation. Those messages destroyed my marriage and my family, but they also freed me from a man who didn't value me, from a sister who didn't respect me, from a life built on lies. And now I'm building something real. Something honest, something that's actually mine. Subscribe if you've ever had to choose yourself over people who didn't deserve you. Retry.